I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda, and you're listening to Hard NOC Life.
Well, it's the NOC in full color, you see me? The Hard NOC Life, comics, movies, and TV, yeah.
Welcome to Hard NOC Life. I'm Keith Chow.
I'm Britney.
Hi, I'm Dominic Ma.
So it's been a week. I know you guys last week were all like, we shouldn't put out a podcast because there's going to be a Spider-Man trailer. And I was like, no, we got to stick to the schedule. As per usual, the podcast comes out and then the trailer drops right after. Dominic and I recorded an emergency YouTube with Preeti Chibber. But Britney, we have been waiting to hear your reactions because you have been anticipating this movie since God knows how long. It wasn't the Andrew Garfield, though, you know, there were some hints at some of Andrew's villains, but what was your overall impression of the No Way Home trailer?
I was really stoked and glad that, you know, they got it out. I knew it was going to happen as soon as, like, the trailer leaked. I accidentally watched it. I thought it was a fake. I'm going to be honest, because I don't want to, like, lie and say I didn't see, like, the one that was not supposed to be seen, but I was looking at it because I thought it was a fake because there's been so many fake out ones. Like, there was one that I thought it was going to be a Spider-Man one, but then it was the Batman trailer. Someone had made it look like it, and then there was one that I thought it was going to be Spider-Man before, and then it was like, I don't know what it was. It was like some stupid, like, people, like, doing dumb stuff, and I was just like, oh my god. So I thought it was a fake until I got to the scene with, like, Doctor Strange, and I was like, oh, this is real.
I clicked on at least 3 where it turned out to be Rick Astley. Even one where it was Doctor Strange and he turned out to be Rick Astley. So I know what you mean. I clicked on a lot of
Yeah,
things.
so there was a lot of, like, fake outs. So I feel like that's why a lot of people, for some people who, like, you know, watched it, that's part of probably why, because, like, oh, I thought it was a fake out. And then other people, when they found out that it was legit, they're like, oh, I'm going to go watch it. But no, I was really excited to see the actual official release trailer. And, like, I feel like I'm validated in the reason why they were holding off on a trailer was that because how do you cut a trailer that doesn't give you the whole movie and, you know, still make it where it's filled with surprises? But, like, that's what I felt. And I feel like the teaser showcased that. That's why we didn't get a trailer for a long time. It was really fun. And Alfred Molina, hello, Peter.
He can finally admit he's in the movie, right? Like, without without blowback.
Without getting in trouble, yeah.
Because I remember in the episode you and Dom recorded last week, you had mentioned that Willem Dafoe would be in the trailer. And he kind of is. Like, you hear what is clearly Dafoe's laugh. And then his, you know, style pumpkin bomb. But we don't see him. And we don't actually see any of the other villains. We see, like, hints at them.
It's funny because there was my friend so people don't go after him. My friend saw a version of the trailer on Facebook where you do see Jamie Foxx and William Dafoe in the trailer. And then I think he said you actually can see Andrew in a scene. And then, like, you hear Toby, but you don't see Toby. And he said, but that one, he thought it was a fake out, like how I thought this one was a fake out. He also thought it was a fake out and then sat there and watched the whole thing and was just like, oh, it was real. So he told me the version that, the trailer that is out, it just is missing, like, 1 or 2 more scenes.
Because this was, like,
wow, that's wild.
There was a CinemaCon presentation. Which there may have been more footage than what we actually saw, so it's possible.
But what he saw was from, like, I think he saw, like, a week or 2 ago, and he was just like, oh, yeah, like, the rumors are true. And I was like, okay. And then, like, he asked me after I had saw, like, you know, I saw the fake out one. He was like, okay, what was in it? And I told him, because he didn't want to watch the one that they posted. And he's like, okay, the one I saw on Facebook had this, this, and this. And I was like, oh, all right. So, yeah. Marvel. Sorry, dude. Somebody who works for you is just leaking.
I know, right? That's like 2 in a row. Dominic, It's been a week since we did our reaction, and I'm sure you've watched it 11 billion times since then. Any further ruminations on the Spider-Man trailer?
I think it's going to be neat how Spider-Man goes up against Dr. Octopus with his own 4 arms. I never really figured that part out before, but he's got the suit with the spider arms, which are basically mirror the octopus arms. That's visually interesting.
Possibly. It could also lead into some like Transformers Michael Bay shit where it's just like giant metal CG
you're right.
arms,
It could become really
in the
messy,
middle of the
like
freeway.
all tentacles all over the screen, and we know what that portends.
Yeah, no, and my brother thinks that in that shot too, when they show Peter with the Iron Spider suit with all the little
His little prickly bits.
out. Yeah, that actually Toby and Andrew are supposed to be next to him. That's what my little brother is like speculating. So we'll see if he's right, but that's what he's saying. And he's like, remember they did that with Civil War trailer where Spider was in the trailer the whole time, but they like digitized him out so no one knew. So that's what my little brother is like thinking.
Marvel's been known to do the fake out because there was that whole running scene in Infinity War that doesn't even show up in the movie. And there's like no spot in that would actually make sense in the movie because Banner can't become the Hulk. So it's like they shot that scene just for the trailer, just to throw
trailers are not canon. Trailers are interesting bits of like magical tease. They always involve some stuff that has been shot, which I think is fascinating. There's archives of interesting stuff that has been shot that is shown up in trailers only.
So this trailer, kind of in the pantheon of movie trailers, has broken many records in the week that it's been out. It's now the most viewed trailer in 24 hours of all time. I think the Batman held the record for like 9 months, and now it's one of those weird like sports, records where it's like he's the 5th player to have 3 games in a row where he scores 15 points, 12 rebounds, and it's just like the most obscure stat, you know what I mean? But it's like the most views in 24 hours. Pretty impressive. How would you rank this trailer in the pantheon of at least Marvel trailers, if not all superhero trailers?
I don't know. I really liked it. I was excited to like know that like all of the rumors and stuff are true, and that I don't know. I just felt more validated that I was like, yes, I knew it. This is why they hadn't released a trailer. So for me, I guess that's why I really like this trailer a lot because I feel like validated.
How pissed would you be if Toby and Andrew are not in the movie? What if it's just like he fights all of the other movies' villains, but we never actually see the other Spider? Would you guys just like throw a fit in the theater or
we really talked about it for a long time? I mean, they've been talking about it so much without really talking about it. Wow.
I mean, like, if it doesn't happen, sure, there'll be some disappointment. But for me, you know what? If this movie's just a fun ride and it's a great movie, I'm not gonna, like, be too disappointed. I would be okay if it was just Andrew.
We've established that.
Oh, yeah, I'd be fine with that, too. Toby, you can take a vacation. That's fine. You can sit it out, Toby. No offense.
But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be too upset, but I think it's gonna happen just because of now. Like, rumors are already starting to come out for Multiverse of Madness. Like, they're talking about there's a certain someone Wanda's fighting from a different, Marvel film universe. So yeah, I think it's gonna happen. There is no like, it's not happening. It's just a matter of, is it this movie or is it, Multiverse of Madness? So it's gonna happen. Like some form.
Right.
I'd have to review to remember like what was the most exciting Marvel trailer. I think this one just gave a lot of story, which is sort of fascinating. Gave a premise that many of us, including Britney, were imagining was the premise of the movie. Basically like the Spider-Man's One More Day arc in the comics. But as far as, greatest trailer of all time, the G-Tote or whatever, that is such a sports thing to argue about. Like, who's the greatest of all time? It doesn't matter. But yeah, we will note those trailers both came out in the pandemic when people are at home and really want to watch something exciting on their home. So maybe if not good for movie theater business, the pandemic is probably really good for trailer YouTube views. I can say that. Good.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I feel bad for is Shang-Chi and Eternals, because it's like people in the last week have forgotten that like those are actually the next Marvel movie. Spider-Man is like the 3rd Marvel movie to come out in the next several months. So it's like, there's all of you clamoring for Marvel movies. There's one coming out in a week.
Which I'm going to see next Saturday.
There you go.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, even Benedict Wong was like, "Hey, let me take this portal to the Shang-Chi movie."
Right.
That's where I think he's going with his suitcases and.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
provides connectivity. Yeah. Yeah, we're in this funny 2-week liminal period between the trailer for, like, basically the most sure thing Marvel character and, like, the not sure thing Marvel character. But who we're all, very interested in for other reasons, for new reasons. I'm glad you made it. I rented one of the small rooms at AMC to go see Shang-Chi next Saturday. I'm very, very excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah, I was planning on sitting it out, but I think I'm going to be at a screening on Friday as well. What is the one thing you're most anticipating about this movie? And the reviews have come out, and so far I feel like it's
Pretty
all
solid.
positive. Like there
Yeah.
haven't been any kind of like real critiques. The one critique I've seen the most is like the same critique I've had of every superhero movie. Like the third act becomes like a CG mess, but like that's literally all the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the critique is like he fights too many dragons at the end, that's really not a big problem for him. That's not like a big downside on the movie. That must mean the movie's pretty good. Oh, he fought too many dragons at the end.
So what's the one thing you're most anticipating about the movie, and what's the one thing you're kind of like the most hesitant about?
I just feel like people realizing who don't know his character from the comics to realize how like cool he is. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm hoping that will be done well, because my other favorite martial artist in Marvel Comics was not done well. So I'm hoping that this one will be great. The only thing I'm kind of like I don't know is Awkwafina's character. Maybe I don't know. I know a lot of people have issues with her, but I'm more worried about if her character is gonna be cool or not, because I know she's an OC character. She's like completely new, completely created for this movie. So that's what I'm kind of like, And then I feel like depending on how her character is, will kind of set the stage for like Marvel introducing completely new heroes that they create for the films, Like I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that happen too.
Yeah. We won't contribute to the Awkwafina discourse because I have my issues with both sides of that argument. So let's just leave it at that. Dominic, what are your most anticipated and most worried bits about Shang-Chi?
Well, I have what I guess they call the rep sweats, hashtag rep sweats. That term came from, I don't know where to describe
Jenny Yang. I think Jenny Yang first coined it for Fresh Off the Boat.
Okay, so Jenny Yang probably started that. Okay, a very useful term to describe when like a big movie or show coming out that will represent people who aren't usually represented, and there'll be a lot of discourse about it, and feeling a lot of anxiety about how that's going to be. And it's particularly, I think, there are many forms of this, but particularly I think Asian Americans handle rep sweats in a particularly weird way. A lot of the times it ends up like, because it didn't come out to our satisfaction, we end up hating the thing and tearing down our one visible piece of representation because it didn't do this or that exactly right. And we get why that happens. But, it happens for many reasons, because the Asian American community is so diverse, it literally cannot satisfy everyone, sometimes doesn't satisfy anyone. And what is satisfied anyway? But anyway, for Shang-Chi, I have a very serious case of the rep sweats, because, whatever else we say about Shang-Chi the movie, it is undeniably high profile. It's not like... Crazy Rich Asians, I could say, is still like for a niche, for a certain, subsection of some audience. For
that was a crossover, right? Yeah. Like it was like designed for an audience that went big. It wasn't like supposed to be big when it came out.
Yeah, but Marvel is alpha. Marvel is the industry leader. So it is like, whatever it is, it can't be not discussed. It's high profile, and everyone has to at least say his name because it's in the title of the movie. So for that, the rep sweats are increased. So I don't know. I could talk all day about that. What other aspects
so that's I feel like that's the concern. What's the thing that you're like most anticipating? Because I'm sure the rep sweats are not what you're most anticipating.
I'm just excited to see the cast. It's a great cast. Simu Liu and Tony Leung, and Awkwafina. I don't know. She's a special case. I feel like medium about her. Like she's okay.
That's how I personally.
I still can't
feel.
quite.
She's
I don't.
medium,
There must be
but...
someone who loves Awkwafina because she is so popular, or she is in so many things. So that's the thing I can't quite zero in on. There must be someone who's Awkwafina's like their favorite person, but I don't know what that type of person is.
Yeah. So we'll contribute a little bit to the Awkwafina discourse. I feel the same way. Like she was never like my favorite person in the world, but I do have a sense of, and I might get shit on for the saying this, especially on Twitter, but like I do feel a sense of almost like protection about her because people do hate her so much, and like there's a whole I think it was a trending topic on Twitter, like people are boycotting Shang-Chi because of Awkwafina, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
Well, I get that though, right? But at the same time, it's like, again, without diving too deep into the discourse, it's like, how do you want her to talk, right? Like, I think there's an undercurrent of like, because she's Asian, she has to talk a certain way. And the hypocrisy, I feel like, is that there's a lot of people who are like, why are you casting Awkwafina when Ali Wong is right there? But like, Ali Wong's use of the black accent, I feel, is more problematic because she uses it as a punchline. You know what I'm saying? But anyway.
Who of Asian celebrities has the most problematic black accent? That I think is worth exploring because
right. Well, but
there are a bunch of them.
Yeah. But there's a whole complicated thing around like appropriation and upbringing and all that stuff that I don't want to dive into. But I do feel like, with Awkwafina, because I was never like her biggest fan, or I was never like, yeah, Awkwafina's the best. Like the vitriol she kind of like engenders on both sides of the argument, just kind of like, yeah, like you said, there are people who love her so much that cast her in literally everything. And then the same people, like there's not the same people who love her, but then there's like a similar percentage of people who just hate her fucking guts. And I just feel medium. Like, why can't we just feel medium about people? Why do we have to either like stand hard or like tear them down? I just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, overexposure doesn't help, I guess, too, but, like, still.
Overexposure is part of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand the issue with anyone who is not black using a black accent, and it just, like, them profiting off of it when, black people who normally talk that way and all have always talked that way have to often, what we refer to code switch, is change how you, speak around non-black people because people are going to look at you as less educated, blah blah blah. And like that's the issue, I think, more than anything, is that when black people talk how they normally talk, especially people who have that particular like black scent that people put on, they're looked down upon and looked as lesser and less educated, and sometimes it's not always seen as like funny, but then when other people do it, it's hilarious and it's cool and it's acceptable. And I think that's my overall issue with it. But I do like her as an actress. I don't love her. I think she's decent, but yeah, I mean, she stopped. I see what people mean when they say she stopped using the black accent when she became more popular. I think that's true.
I don't know, but that's the thing. Like, I don't see that. Like, I feel like there isn't that distinguishable difference between the way she talked when she was just an independent underground rapper and now that she's like a huge Hollywood celebrity. Like, I feel like her tone of voice and her slang and like all of the linguistic aspects of her voice haven't changed. It's not like she's like, well, now I'm going to talk like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. Anyway.
I mean, I don't want to micromanage it because I just said I was excited about the cast and I didn't. I'm not excited about her because of any particular reasons, because we said I feel kind of average about her. Michelle Yeoh is in it too. All these great people are in it.
Right.
I am principally excited about the cast. I
didn't want to derail. Sorry, and my whole thing was like not jumping into the Awkwafina waters, no pun intended, but
because it is a very rich topic. It's just perhaps we should prepare to discuss it like comprehensively because it's a rich topic. But Shang-Chi is not about Awkwafina. Let's say that.
It's not.
It's not about her. All. So that's why now is not the time for me. I opinionate this is not the time to go deeply into that topic.
Yeah, agreed. So let's move on. I will say, so the thing I'm most looking forward to is Tony Leung, and the thing I'm least looking forward to is the discourse about the movie, because like, once it's out. Like, there's already, like, some discourse that's, like I said, driving me crazy already. But that's before, like, 11 billion people see the movie. Now, once it comes out, the discourse machine's going to be, like, in overdrive. And that's the thing that I don't want to, engage in.
I think that's good, Keith. That's what I think. I like the certainty of that discourse because Marvel is so high profile.
Yeah, but that discourse is going to be obnoxious as well.
Yeah, but before I felt it's been obnoxious, but also there was the feeling of does it even matter? Like we're discussing in a little side arena of the major discourse. I just like the idea of that discourse taking. I don't say I like it because as Asian Americans, we're often starting at zero. We're starting at the point of how to say the guy's name and whether he's Chinese or Korean. Like, people are actually wondering about that. We're starting at zero.
Kim's convenience, is that why?
We're starting at absolute zero always with Asian American representation because people don't know shit.
But but that's what I'm saying. Like, the internet just flattens any kind of like nuanced conversation about anything.
Yeah,
and that's what sucks.
It's going to be terrible, but at least it's going to be prominent because we have to have the discussion sooner or later to move past zero, which is what I think we keep doing. I think we have the discussion every time a Crazy Rich Asians or a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon comes out, and we circle back and end up back at zero. I want to get to 2 in our discourse about Asian Americans, even if it's really annoying and obnoxious.
But I think it's even harder now because and it's not just for Asian Americans. I think any of this discourse around media representation is even more difficult because of things like social media and the internet. Because I just think back to In the Heights, right? Like, a week before that movie came out, like, it was just like, yes, can't wait. And as soon as it comes out, and not that tanked the movie, because the movie ended up tanking, because that's the other kind of like underlying concern about Shang-Chi with like the Delta variant and the whole experiment, blah, blah, blah. It was like, if it doesn't make $1 billion the first weekend, that discourse is going to be obnoxious. You know what I'm saying? So like all of that, is all wrapped up in the same package. That September 4th, or I guess September 6th would be the Monday after the weekend, is where I'm just kind of like just preparing to maybe log off the internet that day. Although I guess we have a podcast to record, so
fair enough,
we'll be
fair
part
enough.
of the discourse. We're contributing to this.
No, I mean, I think
vicious cycle.
You're within your mental rights to filter out anything about the box office, because to maintain the box office thing is just going to be stupid.
Yeah, I feel like while we're in a pandemic, talking about what is doing well or not doing well at the box office is just pointless, because we know that there are people who are not willing to risk their lives to go see a movie. That's it. That's like, there is no other explanation. Like, that's what it is. And then also, with a lot of people who have lost their jobs or have reduced hours, they're not gonna necessarily want to go out and pay for a movie, and then most people feel like they gotta get snacks. So some people aren't gonna pay for snacks. And yes, there's people who, like, I understand, sneak in snacks from like cheaper places, but still, some people don't even want to consider like, buying snacks from the dollar store just to go to, like, some people aren't in a place to do that because of, COVID affecting their work. And so the movie's probably not gonna make a lot of money because of those reasons. And it really sucks that this is the climate that this movie's being released in. But I would say if you feel comfortable and safe to go to the movie theater, you should go and check this out. I just saw Free Guy on Friday, which was so much fun. Like, I don't remember the last time I had that much fun watching a movie in the theater. Like, I don't know, I laughed probably louder than I should have. There was one part that I actually screamed like laugh screaming, like I was dying. The movie was hilarious. I really think that Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds and whoever else worked on this film creatively, like, they need to be the team doing Deadpool in the MCU, because that movie was really, really good. And if Marvel is really sticking to the multiverse thing, let me tell you, this movie has a scene towards the end that does this really, really cool, like, fight montage very perfectly. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but it's worth watching. And Ryan Reynolds is the undefeated rom-com king.
Undefeated
was so good.
at rom-coms. Yes, he should MC rom-com con whenever that's a con.
Deadpool's
The
a
rom-com
rom-com too.
It is very much. I haven't seen Free Guy, but I mean, the funny thing about the movie, a lot would say like that it's an original IP, which is movie speak for someone just made it up. They didn't base it on a comic or a novel, which in movies is relatively uncommon these days.
Right.
So good for them for
Yeah, but then at the end it kind of reminds you that it does have access to this other IP, basically.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean,
at the very least, it's like based on video game culture, though, right? So like there is that kind of like, it's not quite IP, but it's like tapping into a pre-existing subculture.
I mean, I don't know, like, if anyone wants me to spoil the end, but it was just really cool. I
personally don't care about spoilers, but, you know.
Yeah, go for it. And if
Okay.
you do care about Free Guy spoilers, I would suggest you fast forward maybe 30 seconds and then pick up after Britney spoils the fuck out of this movie.
Yes, so, okay, at the end, Ryan Reynolds is a non-playable character in the movie, if you guys don't know that.
NPC.
Yes. So what happens is there's someone else who is a regular, like, playable character. She is playing this game because there's there's like a code hidden within the game, so she can, like, prove that she's the one who actually made
Is that the
code.
Jodie Comer character?
Yes. So her and what's his name from Stranger Things? Joe Curry.
Mm-hmm.
They both actually technically created the code that they don't realize it. They made an AI code that's working and self-learning within the game to help it feel more real, blah, blah, blah. And so his character ends up having to fight a different version of himself that Taika's character, because he's the villain of the movie, creates. And he's fighting against this, like, stronger, really buffed out version of Ryan Reynolds. It's really hilarious. And he's, like,
Oh, is
really
that because there was like a YouTube video, like a teaser showing like a He-Man looking right? So that
Yes.
guy's actually in the movie.
Yes. Yes. And, like, they didn't fit, like, because basically Taika's mad and he wants to get rid of him. They download the character into the game to fight Free Guy, or Guy is his name in the movie, to fight him. And so they're fighting, and the He-Man version of him is not, like, fully developed. He doesn't have, like, a... So, like, instead of having a actual catchphrase, he'll, like, catchphrase. Like, when he, like, hits him or something, you know? Instead of having an actual catchphrase, because it's, like, insert catchphrase here is, like, the coding for the character. So there's a part where he's about to go punch him. This is longer than 30 seconds. Wow. Keep fast forwarding.
This is like watching the movie.
I know you're painting a picture.
An audio
I know.
description of.
So there's a part where, like, basically He-Man Guy is gonna punch Guy, and he's about to do it, and he's going in for the punch, and then I don't know, he was, like, getting stuff from his pack, and I was like, don't tell me he's gonna pull this out. Don't tell me. I don't know why I had a feeling, but I had a feeling, and I didn't see any spoilers, by the way. He ends up pulling out the Captain America shield, and he, like, dude hits him. And then, like, it goes out of the movie because people are watching this happening on, like, a live stream. And it shows Chris Evans going, what the fuck?
Nice.
And I was dying. I, like, laughed so hard. And then he, like, moves the shield behind him. I'm like, oh, no, he's going to pull out a lightsaber. He pulled out a fucking lightsaber, and I screamed, excuse my language, and I was just like, this is just mind-blowing, amazing, and awesome, and fun. And even though I saw, like, what was going to happen in the moments, it was still fun and exciting to see it happen, and I don't know, it was really cool, so much fun. Like, I recommend Free Guy. It was a good time.
So did they make that movie after? I guess they made that movie after the Disney acquisition of 20th
Yeah.
Century Fox, because...
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, you know, and it makes sense, you know, your whole point about the Deadpool thing, because as promotion for Free Guy, there was that whole Korg Deadpool teaser.
Yes, and then there's a character in the movie who, when you, like, actually see what so Channing Tatum is one of the video game character skins, and then when you see the guy who actually is playing as, like, Channing Tatum is really funny. It's the guy from Stranger Things who, like, first works in the arcade and then he ends up working in the video store.
Oh, yeah.
That guy. So it's like he's the one who's playing as Channing Tatum, and you see his room, and there's like an Infinity War poster behind him and a Deadpool poster right next to it. So,
Well, you know, to your point, though, I think, like, the fact that Marvel has opened up the multiverse is probably the best way to bring Deadpool in, because, you know, the whole self-referential meta aspect of Deadpool would not fit the MCU unless it was, like, this kind of, like, you know, outside thing where he's able to comment on the MCU without, you know what I mean? Because just the way that Deadpool works is that, you know, the MCU is such a tight, well-oiled machine that it just wouldn't work to have this kind of, like, meta character that's able to break the fourth wall, unless it was just like another multiverse. Not so different from Jeffrey Wright's Watcher and how the Watcher breaks the fourth wall.
yeah.
And What If?
He's gonna end up being, I feel like because of it, he's gonna end up intervening, even though he always says he's not going to. I will not.
Well, let's talk about What If. That was the other thing, and, you know, as per usual on this episode, on this show, we have to talk about the latest episode of whatever Marvel's putting out on Disney Plus. But it was going to be a hard act to follow the Chadwick Boseman episode.
Yes.
But I think they did a fantastic job with I forget the name of it, but I think it was called like What If Earth's Mightiest Heroes Died or something.
Yeah, died in the same week or something like that.
Yeah, but it's essentially like a redo of, there was this Marvel comic that came out around the time I think of Iron Man 2 or that first phase of MCU where it was called like Fury's Big Week. And it was basically tying together the events of Thor, Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 2. That those three movies actually happened simultaneously. They were all like within the same week in the Marvel Universe. And so there's this whole comic following Nick Fury. And essentially this episode was like a reboot of that comic book. Not even like the movies, but like that comic, Fury's Big Week. What did you guys think of... first of all, Dominic, did you watch What If this week?
I totally watched What If.
Okay, cool.
Just like an hour ago.
Same.
It did turn out to be about Ant-Man owning everyone, not Thanos, but it turned out to be, Ant-Man taking charge of
I mean, literally, Ant-Man kind of went inside Hulk's ass and blew up from the inside.
Yes.
He went inside people and blew them up from the inside, which works. From Adam did it in the Justice League. Look, I'll get off that train. It's not important. It was a good episode. I thought it was really well done. Notable that they were mainly voiced by the original actors, except Scarlett Johansson. But that turns out to be a coincidence, I guess.
What I thought was interesting, first of all, Lake Bell does an awesome Black Widow. Like, I almost feel like maybe she should be. The whole time I was watching, I was thinking how, like, Britney hates ScarJo and was probably thinking, like, wow, we could just have Lake Bell be Black Widow.
She does Poison Ivy in the Harley Quinn anime show, and it's very special. Her Poison Ivy is delightful. But
I did find I wondered if this episode was somehow like prescient about the ScarJo divorce from Disney, because unlike all of the other characters, she didn't even look like Scarlett Johansson, No.
She looked more like her video game self.
Yeah, like the other characters in each episode so far have been drawn to look like their live action counterparts, even if they weren't voiced. Like the guy voicing Tony Stark wasn't Robert Downey Jr., but Tony Stark still looked like Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
But was it just me? Like, Black Widow didn't look like Scarlett Johansson whatsoever.
She didn't, and I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to distance themselves from her just because of how she's had 2 incidents, and not including the Black Widow incident recently, that has made a lot of people be like, I don't think I like her. It's, obviously Ghost in Shell was the first one, and the next one was when she almost played a trans man. So I think because she just comes off as like, the white woman who really doesn't care about other people and other minorities, I think that they're like, we don't want to be associated with this.
I just thought it was just like ironic, maybe not ironic, but just coincidental that like the one character that was so clearly, and she had a large role in this episode too, right? It wasn't just like, let's just do a write-off of Black Widow. Like, she's essentially like the second most important character behind Sam Jackson's Nick Fury. So anyway, I really like this a lot. I liked how they kind of reframed a lot of the things that we saw in those first 3 Marvel movies, including like the way Agent Coulson is obsessed over Thor and Captain America. I love how they reinserted Mark Ruffalo into the Incredible Hulk, which was originally the Ed Norton movie.
Yeah.
Without erasing like the aspects of the Ed Norton movie.
Yeah.
They weren't like, that movie didn't exist. It was just like, that movie existed, it just happened to be Mark Ruffalo the whole time. It's like, we're one step removed from them just deep faking Mark Ruffalo into the Incredible Hulk,
I really like Ed Norton too. I hope he'll come back in the multiverse. I just like him as an actor.
That would be a cool Into the Hulk verse.
He could be the maestro.
Eric Bana. Can you imagine Eric Bana and Ed Norton?
The Hulkyverse.
I like Eric Bana.
Yeah, he's awesome too. Oh my god, they should totally make a Hulkyverse. They should find one where they find all those dudes. That movie would rule.
Not Edward Norton.
You don't like Edward Norton? Fine.
I don't like his voice.
Lou Ferrigno's still around too. You could even bring him in and play like a painted Green Hulk fighting the 3 CG.
Well, maybe
Hulks.
he'd be the maestro because he's the oldest one. The maestro, of course, being in control.
I just don't like Edward Norton's speaking voice. I know that's so weird because I know he's a great actor, but I feel like he sounds much younger than he looks now, and it's weird.
Yeah, no, I get it.
That's such a I know it's such a weird thing and a petty thing to not like an actor over, but I couldn't stand his performance in Hulk because I couldn't stand his voice. But his voice is fine to me in Fight Club because I feel like it fits the character in Fight Club to have that voice. But it does not fit the Hulk, and it bothers me. So that's why I don't.
Voices are like that.
That's the main reason I don't like that movie. It takes me out of the movie because I can't stand listening to his voice.
I have to say, I don't really like Mark Ruffalo's voice, except it's very distinctive. I always recognize it. I don't really like his speaking voice, but I like him. So we're clowning on people's speaking voices. Like this
I know, it's so bad.
This is very enlightened, but it's something I think about all the time.
Well, I was gonna say it started with Awkwafina, and now we've just kind of morphed into Ed
It's
Norton
important.
And Mark Ruffalo.
This shit is important. It's not just about how
the way they talk,
fucking beautiful and made up you are. It's also
I'm sure there's someone out there who doesn't like my voice, and you are valid in that because I cannot stand Edward Norton's voice, and he hasn't done anything as a person to make me go, ugh, I don't like him. And I can tell he's one of those people, I know he's a good actor, but his voice just bothers me deeply.
But more than Tobey Maguire's voice? Because to me, Tobey Maguire's voice is more objectionable. Although, again, I love
all the Tobey Maguire slander on this podcast.
I like Tobey Maguire, but I filter that, I tear that part out to just say, just your speaking voice rubs me the wrong way.
For me, Tobey's voice isn't the issue why I don't like him as Spider-Man. I just feel like he's he's what people think nerds should be versus what nerds actually like. And
I feel my issue, and I don't know why I'm harping on this either, but he was never the smartass inside the suit. He's got one line, I think, in the first movie. He was like, "Hey, the grown-ups are talking."
Yeah.
And it was that's the only time he's usually just silent when he's in the spider suit in those three movies. That's what I loved about Garfield, actually, is he's kind of like a smartass when he's in the suit, which is what I remember from reading Spidey comics as a kid, is that he's a nerd in real life, but once he puts on the suit, he gets this kind of confidence.
Yeah, it's delightful.
Holland has that a little bit. Garfield has that definitely, but Tobey was just he just didn't talk when he was Spider-Man, and then he had this really obnoxious voice when he was Peter. So anyway,
rub some dirt in your eye.
Let's get back to What If. I do want to jump on the point that I forget which one of you made about how most of the characters were voiced by their live action counterpoints.
You made it.
Which is I made that point?
Yes.
Oh,
That's
it doesn't matter who. It's a big
sure.
It's a point that's kind of leaping up and beating you in the face.
It was very profound, whoever said it. I think that was, to me, the selling point of the show, is that let's get the original actors to voice these characters, even though it's going to be animated, but that lends it some almost credibility, because it's these are these characters,
Yeah.
And what I liked about this was that it was actually Sam Jackson, actually Tom Hiddleston, and then they got Michael fucking Douglas to come in and play Hank Pym.
I was like, wait, is that Michael Douglas? And then my dad happened to sit in the room with me and my brother while we were just watching it, and he's like, yeah, that's him, because my dad just finished watching the Krasinski Method. So my dad's like, that's Michael Douglas.
and I also love a little the subtlety of evil Hank Pym is in the Yellow Jacket costume, because that's when he was an asshole in the comics, is when he was Yellow Jacket. So I just thought that was really cool. But yeah, I'm really liking this series more than I thought I would. I thought I was going to have a hard time getting over the animation. I thought it was going to be less interesting, but I think all the aspects of Loki and WandaVision and even Spider-Man, kind of them really owning the multiverse aspect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is just kind of showing how we can do it. And I dig it. I really do. I think it's it does. There could be a world where they may go ahead and reshoot Mark Ruffalo into I'm being half serious.
Yeah.
They could just say the Ed Norton version is just a multiversal version, but here's the in the Sacred Timeline version of The Incredible Hulk, and just have Mark Ruffalo there, I mean, that would be a tremendous waste of money, because I don't think anyone's
they never
clamoring for that.
I don't know, they didn't do that with Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle, really.
Oh, that would be wild.
And then I feel like Terrence Howard is taller than Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
So, I could be wrong on that, but it just seems Terrence Howard would be the taller dude, and Don Cheadle, just to me, he always seems like he's short.
He's little. I think Don Cheadle's a little guy.
But
but then so is Robert Downey Jr.
yeah,
though.
Robert Downey Jr. had
like
to work
5'7".
performer skills.
Maybe that's why it seemed like a better chemistry to somebody who makes those decisions.
Yeah, after the first Iron Man, RDJ was like, nah, Terrence Howard's too tall. We need to get someone my height. Anyway, that's What If. Dominic, what's nerd popping with you?
Oh, did you guys see the video game news this week?
For Midnight Suns?
Yeah, they're coming out with the Midnight
That
Suns
looks
game.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be real awesome. And we talked about that briefly last week,
And
too.
I don't play that many video games
Me
besides
neither.
like the 2 mobile games I have on my phone, which are not very cool games. At least like in the public eye, I would say. But I saw the trailer for that video game and I was like, I need this.
Yeah.
Is it going on the PlayStation?
Yeah, it's gonna be a console game as far as I know, not a mobile game. You need a real console of some kind. I'm still trying to chase down the PS5. They're hard to get, but I hope to have one by next March when supposedly this game is coming out. I'll bet you Jamal knows a bit more about this than I do. It's not because it's some sort of turn-taking role-playing game. It's not just the action you run around and smash people format of game.
It's kind of like, what do you call it? What was the other game that I had? Oh, I had that one.
Well, it might have been XCOM or Dragon
Marvel
Age.
Alliance?
Maybe.
Or,
But
like,
for
you could-
consoles. So, like, I don't know how those games work on
Marvel
on the
Alliance, you
consoles
could kind
today.
of build it was an actual console game. I think that's what it was called. Or Ultimate Alliance.
That was more the
You could
running
like
around.
pick your team, but then you also like had to do like, and sometimes you had to have like certain people on your team where they forced it, and then like you played different like levels and stuff like that. I don't know, that game was fun.
Yeah. No, totally. So, but the exciting part for me is that the Midnight Suns are an interesting cast of characters. There is Robbie Ray's Ghost Rider. Mm-hmm. There's some version of Wolverine. Oh, and there's Nico Minoru, which I'm kind of excited. I like Nico Minoru a lot.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of different people who aren't normally Midnight Suns characters that are Midnight
Yeah,
that
which
are part
they
of this.
brought
But
in to connect the tissue, probably. But they do have some. I believe Moon Knight is in there somewhere. Anyway.
And Captain Marvel, she's in there. That's why I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's a darker, mystic version of Captain Marvel
Unless it's
somehow.
Moonstone.
Oh, Moonstone. I love Moonstone. But I digress. Moonstone should be in one of these Marvel shows right quick. Anyway.
I think she's might be in I could be wrong, but I think she's gonna be in the Marvels.
That's a good idea. That's an excellent idea. Played by Kristen Bell. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, that was my nerd popping.
Well, speaking of the Marvels real quick before we go to Brittany, the movie that just came out this week, I don't know if anyone saw it. I'm not a big horror guy, so I didn't
Don't
see
say
it, but
it.
I've heard a lot of good things. I won't say the name. At least I won't say it 5 times. But there is a movie that's out this weekend. It's the #1 movie in the country. I won't say it. There's a mirror right here, so I won't say it. But Nia DaCosta directed it, and by all accounts, she did an amazing job directing it, which is making me more excited for the Marvels if I wasn't already.
For sure.
So I just want to get that out there. Brittany, what is nerd popping?
Oh, so as y'all know, I've been reading my Fear Street books, and I just finished reading Fear Street #1, The New Girl, which I read that one in high school, and my memory of that particular book is very different than what actually happens in the book.
Like Budapest.
Yes, it was still a really good and fun read, but yeah, I definitely remember the new girl being a ghost in the book, but she was not a ghost. But yeah, it's been really
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler. Sorry, but yeah, no, it's been really fun revisiting like Fear Street, and I have to get back into reading my Star Wars books because I have a lot that are building up as well as Fear Street now. So my next book that I'll be trying to finish was going to be The Rising Storm by Scott Kavanaugh, which is part of the High Republic books, which is a sequel to The Light of the Jedi, which is The Light of the Jedi. It's a really great, fun read, and I'm very excited to do that. That's what's going on with me. It's going to be books for a while.
It's so nice to hear someone talk about reading because nobody reads anymore, so I appreciate you.
I like reading, and I used to do it all the time in
No,
high
I love
school,
that.
So now I'm just like, I need to get back into it. And the other day I was like reading the Arlstein book while I had like my little speaker, and I was listening to the main. I'm like, I just feel like I'm in high school again.
Any nerd popping with you, Keith?
Yeah, so nerd pop is usually like what's really fun and cool and stuff, but like what's for me is a little sad because this weekend was the 1-year anniversary of Chadwick Boseman's passing.
Sure.
And it kind of hit me again, like I remembered a year ago, it was like, what? That feeling of utter shock. And, as the bookends of 2020 being like Kobe passing in January and then Chadwick passing in August, like just kind of like two people that you just didn't think would die ever.
No.
Dying in the course of the same year with all of the pandemic shit in between, right? Like, just those were like, to me, I just remember the bookends and the utter shock of whenever a celebrity passes, and not just a celebrity, but like someone whose footprint on the culture was so huge, right? And to have two go within the same year.
And Naya for me
was
too,
just
that
and then that was also last year. So but Chadwick's being the 1 year anniversary of Chadwick's passing, and actually instead of watching Black Panther, I went back and rewatched the What If episode from last week where he plays Star-Lord, which you guys talked about.
Did you want to talk about that episode? Because you didn't get to talk about it.
Well, no, so I did rewatch it, and I just I just wanted to say, like, it was so emotional to not only hear Chadwick again, but like the character that he played, his version of Star-Lord. Not that like T'Challa is, not fun, but you could just tell how much fun Chadwick was having.
Yeah.
As the Star-Lord version of T'Challa, right? And it just kind of like, hurts a little bit because I think you talked about this, how like he kind of talked to Kevin Feige about like, I had such a good time playing this alternate version of T'Challa. I want to bring some of that into my, into the next movie. And then, whatever Wakanda Forever ends up being. And who knows, like Letitia Wright got hurt on set somehow, right? Like that was the other news from last week is something happened to her on set.
Yeah, well,
and she
at least they didn't break her face like did to Dylan O'Brien.
Right. So, like, who knows what happens with Wakanda Forever when it eventually comes out. And I'm sure it'll be an emotional experience. But just the fact that we've lost Chadwick Boseman, and it's been a year that we've had this year of, like, tumult and everything since he passed. I don't know. I've been very reflective over the last couple of days. And, like I said, Wakanda Forever. Death is not the end.
No, it is
to quote Black Panther.
Point.
So, anyway, that's Hard NOC Life. Brittany, how can people find you on the internet?
Wow, we're ending on such a sad note. Wow.
Out on that light note, right?
Yeah, right? No, but I do want to agree. I just wanted to add to that real quick that I do really miss both Chadwick and Kobe, but for me, Naya was really personal for me, and it's been a year, maybe in a month now since she's passed away. And it's really hard to see certain things and, listening to certain songs especially, and I'm like, oh, I wonder, like, if Glee was still going, how would Naya have sung this song? And you think about things, or like what kind of roles, like, just thinking about how we might not get that samurai, the first Black Samurai movie that Chadwick was supposed to be in. Thinking about certain things that we're not going to see anymore, or just it's very, very sad. And I do agree that episode of What If was very emotional, especially that line from his actual father of, I know you're somewhere amongst the stars. Like, I don't know, that hits really hard. And I'm sorry to add on ending in a sad note, but
no, not at all. I mean, I think that's again, just the fact that a year has already passed. Like it feels so raw. It feels so like it just happened.
Yes, it does.
And then it was a year later. Because even watching What If, it was like you forgot for a second at least, you forgot Chadwick wasn't with us because it's like he's right there, even though he's animated. And it was like, oh, I can't wait to see what And I think there's going to be another episode where Star-Lord comes back. Yeah. But just kind of thinking like, oh, I can't wait to see where they go with this. And it's like, oh, they're not going to go anywhere because he's gone. Yeah. And it's just, yeah. we're not helping lighten the mood.
No, we're not. No,
we're just going to end on this sad
I didn't tweet anything about him, really. I retweeted stuff, but I didn't say anything just because him and both and I are the two people that really get me, like, choked up when thinking about recent, people. Even, Corey Monty from Glee 2. Those three, I don't know, those hit really hard because the three of them really meant something to me. It does, and I feel like I couldn't just like ignore it and be like, well, no, this is where you can find me. I don't know. I feel like I could not not say something.
Yeah, and especially I think part of it is when someone, I mean, it's like the artist who dies like right before they're about to put out their like magnum opus. I mean, of course, Black Panther had already come out, but it's similar to like Bruce Lee dying right before Enter the Dragon comes out, right? Like, Chadwick died before he really was going to become this huge... As huge as Black Panther was, he still had an entire career ahead of him.
Yeah, not just that. And then even if you saw his performance in The Five Bloods,
Right.
there's a whole scene where his character, if you guys who have not seen it, I'm sorry to spoil it, there's a scene where his character who is talking to Delroy, he's talking to his character, and his character's actually, like, dead, but it's like, I don't know if it's his ghost or a figment of, you know, the other character's imagination, but it's like him saying, like, I forgive you, man, like, it's cool, like, they ain't no, like he says, it ain't no thing, and that scene really hit really hard, because I think he had already passed away when they dropped the movie. That scene really hits hard, because it's you know, supposed to be, you know, not Chadwick, but his character from, like, beyond talking to him, so that scene hits really hard, and hard to actually kind of watch.
I mean, that's the wild thing. I mean, I think we talked about this last year when he died, but just to think, like, all the work he was doing as he was dying.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, when you go back and watch The Five Bloods, you can kind of almost tell, like, Chadwick looks a little thin in this movie. Maybe, and I think at the time you're like, wow, he really lost a lot of weight to play this, like, Vietnam veteran, right?
Yeah.
Even with Ma Rainey, he looks a little skinnier than he does in, like, you know, as James Brown or as Thurgood Marshall. He just looks a little bit... And there was all those jokes about, like, his weight on Twitter. Like, people were like, what's wrong with Chadwick? It was like, he's fucking dying. That's what's wrong with him.
Yeah.
So, anyway, and then the fact that he was gearing up, it's not like he was like, I'm not going to be in Black Panther. He was, like, getting ready for Black Panther 2 as he was dying.
Yeah, he thought he was going to, you know, be able to gain the weight back if he just ate heavier than he normally did. And, like, you know, like, that was his plan. Like, he was just going to eat more so he could gain the weight back, and also, you know, do workouts to, like, get muscle definition and things like that. Like, that was his plan. He thought he was gonna beat it and be able to do, or, you know, stay around long enough to do Black Panther 2. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's really sad.
Yeah, it's very sad.
But
and on that sad note,
you can find me. Oh gosh.
How can they find you on the internet, Brittany?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Hi Brittany Monet, and both Twitter and Instagram, and then you can follow at Naomi Podcast for both the Naomi Podcast and the Lituation Room, and all the back catalog of the Black Lightning Podcast.
Awesome. Dominic.
I'm at Dama, DOMMH, on Instagram or Twitter. Please follow me, and I'm also relaunching my YouTube channel at melancholyball.com, so you can subscribe to that, and also subscribe to the Nerds of Color channel, please, because it's free and it really supports what we're doing.
Absolutely. Follow me on Twitter at TheRealChow, _real_Chow. Follow the Nerds of Color at the Nerds of Color. As Dominic said, go to youtube.com/Nerds of Color to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find this podcast on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get podcasts. Just go to hardknockmedia.com, where you can find all of the podcasts in the Hard Knock family, and give us a like and a subscribe as well. Email us, thenerdsofcolor@gmail.com. Support us on Patreon, TeePublic, GoFundMe, all of the usual places. And until next time,
Catchphrase.
catchphrase. See ya.
This is the Hard Knock Life, but not the chicken kind, more like the people.